If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.
Hi, everyone. This is Melanie Johnson. Welcome to Elite Publishing Podcast. So we have a great guest with us today. She is a Wall Street Journal best-selling author. She wrote the book Relentless, Home Team to Achieving the Entrepreneur Dream. So she is going to share with us her journey about how she wrote the book, how she's used the book for her business. Natasha, welcome. Thank you, Natasha Miller.
Thanks for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit, Natasha, about how you got started and why you wanted to write a book.
I think I knew I would write a book eventually. It was just the when was the question. And 5 years ago, I was at a conference to learn how to scale and grow my business with a bunch of 7, 8, 9-figure entrepreneurs. And I came out of that conference saying, I have to write a book. So I started writing then, and I'm a pretty quick writer. So I wrote like 50,000 words in the period of a couple of months with no structure, with, no help, with no coach. My family are authors. And so I was the black sheep. I was the only one that wasn't in the media or an English professor or formally published author. So, but I wrote songs, and that was my contribution to my family's writing legacy. And long story short, I'm going to give you something not to do. I asked for a ghostwriter from some of the people that were in my community. And I didn't understand that at the point that I had written so much that I didn't actually need a ghostwriter. I needed an editor. But what happened was I was referred to this really big, successful literary agent that had gotten deals for really big books. I will not say who, but really big. And I was told by some of my friends, like, oh my God, she's the real deal. Like, you got to go with her. And I didn't do my due diligence on her ability to write and edit a book, right? To be a writer and to be an editor. In her past career, she was those things, but it had been a long time. And I paid her a lot of money, a painful amount. Do you want me to tell you how much?
Yeah.
$40,000. And what she delivered to me was so bad that even my daughter, who's an English lit major in college, I mean, she's graduated. She was like, Mom, this can't go out like this. And I said, I know. And she started pitching it to major traditional publishers without my book proposal. And I thought, there's something wrong here, but I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And I remember, we got a rejection and somebody said, the story is amazing, but the prose doesn't have that polish and shine and sparkle. So I said to this woman, if it doesn't have the sparkle, like, that's what I hired you to help me with. And she's like, oh, honey, if I could do that. And I was like, wait a minute. So I put it down for a time, and I was very upset with myself and with the situation. And I started asking questions, and it led me to this incredible editor named Jamie Blaine that works for HarperCollins. He ghostwrites really famous people's books, and he didn't ghostwrite mine. He, of course, was a co-writer and editor, and he took my story and he really molded it and sculpted it and gave it that polish and sparkle, and actually coached me to give it as well. So there's sparkle from him, there's sparkle from me, to the point where I can't even remember what part is him and what part is me.
Oh, and that's where it's a beautiful merger of the editor and the book coach.
Yes.
And I think that's great, because I think so many people don't know what they need. They think they need a ghostwriter, or they think they need, someone to write their book for them, when they really just need that book coach and editor that's going to pull that story out of them and make it seamless, like you said, so you can't tell which part is you talking and which part they contributed.
that was that process. And something crazy happened in my writing the book that I had to put it down for 6 months. And I didn't think I'd ever pick it back up because of how my family reacted. And it was just so crazy. And it was because I was writing a book and admitted it to my family, or, I wanted to get their, I don't know if it was approval. I think it was approval, but I wanted them to know it was happening before I put it out. Right. And that started this conversation that opened up a can of worms, which ends up in the end of the book. That is a teaser. So I'm not going to tell you what it is, but when you get there, you'll be like, what on earth is going on? And then I picked it back up after everyone calmed down. And it ends at the end of 2020. And, the book talks about my life having been dumped in a homeless shelter by my family on Christmas Day when I was 16.
Wow.
To, excuse me, all of the wonderful things that have happened in my life, everything in between. But what I had was some time to review and look back and be able to comment on them without being in the middle of the heartache and the heartbreak, which I think is important for a memoir.
That's important. You talk about that part about, telling your family and what happens, because a lot of authors, that happens where they never publish the book because they're so worried about what their family would think, or what, this person would think, or that person said.
It's a real thing to really, it's a very important, it can be very awkward. And I will say with my family, there are a lot of people that are supporting me, and there are a lot of people that just don't talk to me about it. And that's the best scenario for a negative reaction, is that you just don't talk about it. There are much worse things that can happen. You do have to be careful.
Did you end up going the traditional route with a publishing company, or did you end up self-publishing? And did you have somebody that helped you self-publish if you did?
Okay, so I had 2 literary agents, ultimately. The first one, you understand, I fired.
Right.
And there was no book deal for that one. The second one, I ended up looking at book deals and saying, as an entrepreneur with a multi-million-dollar company, I was like, this is not in my best interest. So I was glad to have seen, what the opportunities were, but I turned them down. And I realized, because I am an entrepreneur, that I am best suited to doing things under my own domain. So I started my own imprint. It's called Poignant Press. And I will continue to publish under that publishing company, probably, unless, someone wants to offer me something that it's not even a monetary value, but something that surpasses my giving up intellectual property and relying on other people. That, we're all human beings, and everyone can do an excellent job, or they can drop the ball, and anywhere in between. And so I like to keep things within my own domain. Am I a control freak? Maybe.
Well, I love that you said that you read the contract and realized, because I think so many people are like, well, I just want to get a literary agent. I just want them to pitch my book, and I want to get a traditional publisher. And then they don't even read the full contract, and they have no idea how much royalties, if there's a movie deal, if they get any of that. They don't know anything because they didn't really read the fine print. And you might have to have a lawyer read it too if you don't understand that kind of stuff,
definitely.
right?
I can understand a good deal of a contract, but I always have an attorney, because they'll find some turn of phrase that I'm like, didn't see that and didn't notice that was a tripwire.
Yeah. And how do you feel like, your book is really kind of a memoir in a way, telling your story. How do you feel you used your book in your business? How do you feel that was useful for you?
I am not sure. Well, I never thought it would lead to more business for entire productions necessarily. And I didn't need it to, and didn't want it to. So my core business, I certainly talk about it in the book. And I do talk about some of my clients and some of the great events, but I've been written up in the industry, in my event industry a bit. And yes, there are people buying the book, but is it leading to more business there? No, and I'm not trying to. However, I did create a program where I teach people to write a memoir. And I got into this passion place of, having researched and been in the trenches for 5 years of writing this book and spending so much money making mistakes. I mean, it could be its own reality television show, really, the whole book writing and publishing and marketing process. So I have a slew of new endeavors that the book is pointing toward. I think that the target demographic are women that are entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial minded. They don't necessarily have to have a business yet, aged about 28 to 55. And what is so strange to me is how many men are coming to this book, they're reading this book, and I'm hearing from them more than women. I see emails and posts with underlines and highlights and a lot of passion. I feel like my book is giving them a voice and they're being heard. And maybe, I've asked the men who are responding to it, why? Why are you reading this? Why are you even called to this book? And it's been really incredible. I think men, they're not allowed to talk about how they were treated growing up. They have to tough it out. Women are a little bit more able to, express themselves in that way. But the truth is, men had a similarly challenging time. And I think, I'm 51. Our parents, that generation, didn't have a lot of support. There wasn't a lot of mental health and support, and the drugs and all of the things that go with trying to get yourself in a place that's positive. And a lot of us suffered. So I'm just loving that. And so, yes, for the book, in the back, there's some beautiful sales pages that point to the Memoir Sherpa program, that point to Fascinating Entrepreneurs, my podcast, and some of the other offerings I have. Certainly it does point to Entire Productions as well. So it's been a great experience.
What's wonderful about this, we tell people, there's so many different reasons that you can write a book for. And what you're pointing to is you're changing lives. So these men are reaching out, you're touching them, and you just never know how that's going to affect somebody. And it's a legacy that lasts forever. So whether it's used for your business or it's used on top of it for this really altruistic purpose of changing people's lives one at a time with your book, is really this amazing thing. And that's to me is the icing and the ultimate thing about writing a book. Even if you're teaching something business-wise or leadership, or you're sharing your story, which can be difficult to do, as you said, Natasha, because you're being vulnerable, and that you've got family that are maybe, you're exposing with what happened with them as well. So it's really a treasure to be able to have a book like this that can change someone's life and over the course of decades to come. So thank you for sharing all that and your experience of becoming a Wall Street Journal bestselling author. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been quite a wild ride.
Tell us the name of the book again and where people can go to get it.
Sure. It's called Relentless, Homeless Teen to Achieving the Entrepreneur Dream. It is available on every digital bookstore and Audible, and I actually took it off exclusive Audible, and now it's available wherever you can buy or download an audiobook. And there is a website, therelentlessbook.com.
Perfect. We'll put those up in the show notes.
Terrific. Well, thanks for coming today. Thanks for joining us at the Elite Publishing Podcast. And if you're looking to become an author and share your story, hit the submission button at eliteonlinepublishing.com. We work with our authors no matter what stage you're in, if it's just an idea or you have a working manuscript. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.